Good night, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to welcome all of you to our meeting here in Lammings, St. Joseph. I want to welcome all those from Sugar Hill. I want to welcome those from Braggs Hill. I want to welcome all the individuals to this meeting here at Lammings, St. Joseph. I also want to welcome those individuals from the diaspora who certainly extends great support for the activities of the Democratic Labour Party, even here at Lammings tonight. Before we go any further, we had a very unfortunate death recently, that of Mona Grant Phillips, one of the stalwarts of the Democratic Labour Party in our constituency. And at this time, we want to bear respect to her passing, and I will ask all of us for a moment of silence, of which I will break with a prayer. A moment of silence on behalf of Mona Grant Phillips. Loving God, we give you thanks for the opportunity where we can come together as a people here at St. Joseph. We continue to give you thanks, Lord, for your guidance and for your presence. We ask, Lord, that you will be with us as we endeavor, Lord, to encourage constituency members here in the parish of St. Joseph, and certainly extending to all the other 10 parishes, that as we engage into this opportunity where we will seek to address the sufferings of individuals in this country, we ask your continued blessings upon us as we proceed here tonight. Guide, guard, and protect. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Now, I know that many of you may be familiar with my face, but let me just mention that I'm Victor Lewis, that individual that would have challenged the whole concept of the Joseph matter, of which you'd have heard quite a lot about. And we as members here in St. Joseph, we were victorious then, and we will be victorious now in this general election. And I would want to say to you that we are very inspired, we are very happy, we are very dedicated to the gentleman for our candidate from the Democratic Labour Party. Voices that we can trust, a voice that we would have trusted all over the years, a voice that we can continue to look up to as a people. I want to say to you that we have all the confidence in our candidate from the Democratic Labour Party, that in the form of Randall Rouse. And as we would continue to say, it will be Rouse for the house. And I would want to say many things to you as I continue in my role as chairperson for tonight's meeting. There are many things that I would want to say to you regarding many things that we have observed here in St. Joseph. And I'm certain that many of you out there are convinced that your vote will go that X to Randall Rouse because he has earned it. It is time that we give him the space. It is time that we give him the opportunity where he will demonstrate his ability to stop the suffering experience that we have so been made to observe in our parish here in St. Joseph. We have many wonderful speakers tonight, and I'm certain that you'll be encouraged when you hear from them, and that your support will continue on to the 11th of February, Wednesday, when you will put that X for the Democratic Labour Party. I have a candidate that has given very inspiring speeches thus far, and I'm certain that he will continue in that vein tonight. He is an insurance and risk management professional with more than 20 years of experience in serving individuals, families, and businesses across Barbados. Currently an insurance agent at BB Insurance Brokers, Ramon has previously worked in senior claims and advisory roles at BCIC, Sagicor Life, and Barbadians Insurance. He is recognized for reliability, clear communication, and practical problem solving. He holds professional designations in insurance and enterprise risk and has supported small business development through mentorship and volunteer management. A former national youth cricketer, Ramon values discipline, teamwork, and community connection. Grounded and dependable, Ramon Goodman stands ready to serve with steady judgment and a genuine commitment to helping Barbadians navigate risk and opportunity. We want to welcome to the podium Ramon Goodman.
They can't keep a good man down. Always keep a smile when they want me to frown. Keep the vibes and I stood my ground. They will never ever take my crown. Oh, Jah bless, I say no man curse. Things getting better when they thought it would be worse. Here comes the officers asking for a search. They found no weapon, just only a draw first. But I'm so solid as a rock, they just can't stop me now. Even when they set their traps, they just can't stop me now. People will say this and that.
I just want to say a pleasant good night to the good people of St. Joseph. Hoping all is well. It's fantastic to see you here tonight. I want to say a good night, especially to the elders, our young people, our workers, our farmers, our business owners, our faith leaders, and everyone who calls this beautiful parish home. Tonight, I stand before you. Tonight, I stand before you as someone who deeply respects the history, the strength, and the potential of St. Joseph. This is a parish rich in culture, just like the fantastic constituency that I am representing and I will represent in the future, the St. Andrew constituency. So it's full of culture, it's full of resilience and natural beauty. Just as beautiful, well, not as beautiful as St. Andrew, but very beautiful, I can tell you that. From your rolling hills and fertile lands to the people who wake up every single day determined to make life better for their families. But we also know this beauty alone does not fix roads. It really doesn't. Pride alone does not create jobs. And hope alone does not lower the cost of living. What does? Listening, planning, and real action. I find we in the political arena, well, the other side, not us. We need Democrat Labour Party. We listen. We listen to the people. There's only one way you can find a solution to a challenge, and that is by listening. Simple thing, but the guys on the other side, they see it as high complication. As we refocus, listening to the people is extremely important, as I would say. And over the past months, I've spoken with many of you at bus stops, in shops, on verandas, at churches, and at community meetings. And while everyone's story is different, the concerns are strikingly similar. And that is the reality of it. People want to feel heard. People want to feel safe. People want to feel secure and secure in their jobs. Now, unfortunately, we're in an environment, a career environment, where work is too temporary. 2 months on, 2 months off. Not good enough. People should feel secure where work is concerned, where their career is concerned. That is the only way that they will see the light at the end of the tunnel. We in the Democratic Labour Party, once elected, we will deal with that in a serious way. People of St. Joseph. So I know that the politicians, they think that you're looking for a miracle. But, it is simple. It is simple. Listening and finding solutions to the challenges. But for some reason, it's a miracle. We in the Democrat Labour Party will do better. We will continue to do better. And the reality of it is roads and infrastructure. Let's talk plainly about the roads. Now, I was driving here from the St. Andrew constituency, and I thought I would have needed a net brace from St. Andrew to St. Joseph. I thought that after that travel, I would need a net brace. Not good enough. We got to stand up. We have to stand out. And we have to say enough is enough where the roads are concerned. Enough is enough. For too long, as I said, residents of the St. Andrew constituency, they have navigated potholes, eroded edges, poor drainage, and roads that become dangerous after rainfall. This affects everyone. School children, bus drivers, farmers trying to get produce to market, and elderly residents. Elderly residents trying to get to medical appointments. We feel it, the people of St. Joseph. You feel it. Speak up. Speak out. So I just want to make this extremely clear. Good roads, that is not a luxury. They are public safety issues. There are an economic issue. We need proper road resurfacing and not just patch up madness. No, we need proper roads. We need improved drainage to prevent repeated damage, clear timelines and accountability for the road projects. Now, the Scotland district, let me talk about that. The government of Barbados, the Barbados Labour Party-led government, they would have borrowed $256 million in 2022. $256 million. As we look around, as we travel, road repairs, bridges, those things should have been maintained. Those things should have been rebuilt. After borrowing $256 million in 2022, we must ask the government of Barbados, where has the money gone? What is happening with our taxpayers' money? They must be held accountable. And, when work is done, it must be done right. And it must be done in the right time. Jobs and economic opportunities. St. Joseph, you guys have talent. St. Joseph have skills. What too many people lack in opportunity? Close to home. Our young people should not feel forced to leave the parish. Our young people should not be involved in a brain drain where Barbados is concerned. Barbados has a serious issue with brain drain. A serious issue in which we need to address. Too many young people, they have to ply their trade overseas as there are too many temporary jobs in this country where you work 2 months on, 2 months off. Not good enough. Proper employment is needed so the young people, they don't have to ply the trade overseas. People, stand up, stand out. Our small business owners should not be buried under red tape and rising costs. We must support agriculture with modern tools, fair access to markets, and training. Encourage small and micro businesses with real support, not just promises. Create pathways for young people into skilled trades, technology, and entrepreneurship. Economic development must reach every parish, not just a few. Youth and education. Our young people are watching us. They are watching what we say and what we fail to do. They want opportunities, yes, but they also want guidance. They want guidance, they want mentorship, and they want hope. Too many young people feel unseen. Unseen until something goes wrong. That must change. That will change. We need safe community spaces for youth engagement. Now, don't even get me started on community centers. I believe strongly in having a community center in nearly every area and district within this country. Community centers are extremely important. After school activities, places where the elderly can go and socialize. That is what I have been hearing. That is what the people are asking for. Community centers must remain open. Community centers must be maintained in every community in Barbados. There needs to be support for sports, arts, and cultural activities. Strong partnerships between schools, families, and communities. When we invest in young people, when we invest in them early, we reduce crime. We increase productivity, and we build stronger communities. Safety and community well-being. Safety is not just about policing. It's about community trust. People want to feel safe walking at night, safe in their homes, safe sending their children to school. That means well-lit roads and public areas. Community policing that builds relationships. Support services for families in crisis. Programs that address root causes, not just symptoms. A safe community is one where people look out for one another and where government supports, not abandons, that effort. Let's be honest. Many families are under pressure. Groceries cost more, utilities cost more, transportation costs more, and wages are not always keeping up. They're not keeping up at all, actually. People are doing everything right and still struggling. Now, there was a little argument on social media. People were saying that people go there and they fet up all the money and so forth. And one of the young ladies say, you know what? I don't fet. I stay at home, I go to work, I come home, and I am still struggling. I am still feeling extremely down, extremely depressed because of the cost of living. And I don't go partying up my money. So this is another issue we will continue to deal with in a serious way. Any representative for St. Joseph must advocate for practical cost of living relief, ensure social support reaches those who need it most. And I can tell you something now. I know Randall Rouse very well. He said that he's a social engineer. That gentleman, he believes in community work in a serious way. He's been doing it for many years. And I want to endorse Randall Rouse because I know Randall Rouse will build from within the community out. I know that for a fact. And this is what this speech is about. Building from within the community outwards. So another initiative or another thing that the representative wishes Randall Rouse very soon on the 11th of February, he will be advocating for protection of pensioners, single parents, and vulnerable citizens. He will push for policies that balance growth and fairness. No one should have to choose between food and electricity. Not in Barbados. Respect, transparency, and accountability. Above all, people want respect. And you know what respect means? Returning phone calls. Showing up, not just at election time. Explaining decisions honestly. Admitting mistakes and correcting them. Leadership is not about titles, it is about service. If elected, and I know this very well, when elected, his commitment is simple. He will listen. He will speak up. He will work consistently and visibly for the people of the St. Andrew, the St. Joseph constituency. A shared future. St. Joseph does not need division. You guys need people who are willing to be loud in Parliament. People who are willing to advocate and not be afraid to shout loud about the challenges in which you face. And I will say this again, Randall Rouse. He is the man for the job. On the 11th of February, people of the St. Joseph constituency, go and place your ex next to his name. Because the reality of it is if you stay home and you don't place your ex, you will be by default and automatically so voting for no change, voting for the current representative. That is what you will be doing. And I'm telling you now, it has been many years since the St. Joseph constituency, they would have had a member of the Democratic Labour Party as their representative. We need change, people. Don't be afraid. Our candidates are not afraid. Continue to stand up. Continue to speak out. And Randall Rouse, Mr. Rouse, he is not afraid. And the reality of it is, as well, he has a strong leader in Ralph Anthony Thorne. A man who is not afraid, as you would have seen him in Parliament battling the other 29 members of Parliament. He battled hard. He continues to battle on behalf of the people. Honest voices for the people. And the reality of it is, Mr. Ralph Anthony Thorne, he trusts his people. He trusts them to make decisions. He delegates well. He does not bully. He does not micromanage. He does not. He is a proper leader. And with the team, Ralph Thorne and Randall Rouse, that is an unbeatable team. That is a team that has no fear. That is a team that we want in the St. Joseph constituency. That is the team that the people continue to ask about. So, peoples, I can ring it in your ears. Place your X next to Randall Rouse. Don't stay home. Place that X. Vote, and then vote some more. Good night. Thank you.
Certainly we want to thank Ramon Goodman for his speech and for such uplifting words.
Keep the vibes and I stood my ground.
They will never ever take my crown. The opportunity for many more speakers who will uplift our hearts as they listen to us tonight.
Here comes the officers asking for a search. They found no weapon, just only a draw first. But I'm so solid as a rock, they just can't stop me now. Even when they set their traps, they just can't stop me now.
Certainly when you listen to the speech of Ramon, you know very well that it speaks to the heart of the DLP manifesto. A manifesto that speaks towards dignity and justice for the people of Barbados. We want to give God thanks for the opportunity where we can have such wonderful speakers that will echo their concerns about the state of justice in our community today. We want to, as he rightfully said, when you go on out to vote, you want to put that X clearly in the position that we know that the level of injustice that we have experienced as a people here in St. Joseph, as a people here in Barbados, that we will not continue to be subjected to that. I would want to just carry your minds back to my experience in Joes River with that matter, with the billionaire that was brought here to Barbados. And I'm certain when you recollect all the circumstances surrounding that case, that you know clearly within yourself that injustice was intended for us. I would want to ask myself several times the question, why the head of planning and development, the Prime Minister of our country, Mia Amor Mortley, why she as a lawyer, an individual well-versed in the laws of Barbados, at least she should be well-versed in the laws of Barbados, being the Prime Minister of our country. And so interestingly poised alongside of her was our constituency representative, who is also a lawyer. And both of them sat. You know, it just boggles my mind when I look back and know within myself how they sought to treat the people of St. Joseph, and more so the people of Barbados. How one day thought that, you know, this generous gift was being brought to this country. A generous gift was being brought to Joes River. A generous bridge was being brought to Joes River. and being classified as something being nice for us. But the worst thing that any of us can be subjected to as a people is when an individual seeks to deceive us. Deception, when premeditated. A deceptive behavior is one that is premeditated. And it was premeditated by the leader of our country. And I would pass there in the area of Fisher Pond, where I saw the whole big sign, and I believe it is on this sign here, where it speaks about strong leadership. What strong leadership were we subjected to as a people in Bathsheba, as a people in Estwick, as people in Cleversville, as people in St. Joseph, as people in this country, Barbados, when two lawyers could sit down and plan to deceive the people of this country. When two lawyers can sit down and plan, knowing that it is our prescriptive right to have pass and repass in the area of Joseph Bridge and to the cup and saucer, and both of them, the Prime Minister of our country, speaking about strong leadership. How strong is that? How strong is that, Mia Amor Mortley? When you can sit down and plan to deceive us, bring that bridge and say within yourself to the people of those districts, Estwick and Cleversville and Bathsheba, here is this generous gift from the billionaire. And who sat beside her? Our representative from the Barbados Labour Party. And we all know the results. And then she's going to go on up to Grantley Adams and want to thank him when both of them sat and knew very well that what they were doing is wrong. And we would want to say that from the Democratic Labour Party. We would have heard it echoed many times. Honest voices. And when that voice spoke by our leader, Mia Amor Mortley, that voice was a deceptive voice. One that sought to have us walking over the bridge, but not under the bridge. But thanks be to the Almighty that He demonstrated the whole concept of justice for the people of St. Joseph, justice for the people of Barbados, and I'm certain that we will have justice again in St. Joseph come Wednesday, the 11th of February. We will conquer as a people. We have significant confidence in the leadership of Randall Rouse. And I would want to say to all of you there that when you go put that X against Randall Rouse, you cannot put it against I would wanna, tell him my words. Tell him my words. Because when I sit down and think within myself that, Miss Mears and Sandra and Estwick and all the 10-week committee that we got together and planned, and we were fighting against our own leader. How ironic can that be? That our own leader went against us and now coming putting up signs in this area of St. Joseph talking about strong leadership. Have mercy. But I would want to bring on another speaker who was a former candidate. And I'm certain that he would have very inspiring words for us. That as we contemplate our activities over the next couple of days, that we know within ourselves that Rouse will be in the house. Rouse will conquer. And we would want to bring on our next candidate who will offer some inspiring words to us. And as he comes, we want to continue to give God thanks and give God praise for the way He has led us.
scrambling, they'll be scrambling, cause they know they have
I certainly do let me listen now to Peter Barrow, a former candidate. He will, in his words, continue to encourage us as the people that we ought to put that X where it truly belongs up against that of Randall Rouse. Peter Barrow.
A very good evening to the residents of Lammings and those within the hearing of my voice. I bring you greetings from my candidate, Richard Seeley, in St. Michael's South Central. And I want to say to you that we are extremely pleased with the results that we are getting in South Central. So I can stand here and safely say to you that in South Central, the seat is moving. We have one more day left, and we're going to ensure that when the votes are finished by 12 o'clock on the 12th of February, Richard Seeley will be among Ralph Thorne, Randall Rouse, and don't underestimate the people of Barbados, because the same way they get 30, we can get 30. But we have to have faith in ourselves and in our people and believe that this can be done. I am here also. I'm happy to be here because it's not the first time I've addressed the people of St. Joseph. Myself and Randall Rouse started. Randall, shall I say how long it was? Or these people should know. Because we both started as candidates way back then, which is a long time. But Randall have continued to show his commitment to the people of St. Joseph. He have done it morning, noon, and night. He live among you. He sleep among you. And he know everything that happened within this constituency of St. Joseph. So I am saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, and the people of St. Lammings and other parts of St. Joseph, you have done it already. You have voted for a Democratic Labour Party representative for this constituency. This time is Randall time. This time is the time that you shall say to Randall, thank you, my good and faithful servant. This is your opportunity. We want you to walk up those steps of Parliament. That is the best thing you can give to Randall Rouse as a Valentine's gift. So I urge you that when you go to the polls, remember, walk with your ID. Huh? Don't leave for your ID and then you got to run back for ID and all sorts of things. Walk with your ID. Go early in the morning. Prepare to stand in line and vote for Rouse. When you go, you know you're going with your mind makeup. The only person I am voting for is Randall Rouse. Because there are enough and plenty of reasons why you should vote for Rouse. But we have to get rid of this government. This government who only have one head. All the rest is just details. All the rest, including the last person that they elect up here to be the BLP representative in this area. He ain't going in there to work for you, the people of St. Joseph. If he's successful and if you allow him to be successful, he's just going to hold on to the coattail. He ain't going to do nothing. He ain't going to say nothing until the boss lady say jump. And he was asked. I don't even think he was asked how high. It was just them. So I want to say to you, the residents, not to be fooled by the nonsense they have printed in their manifestos. And in truth and in fact, sit down and analyze what they're saying to you and ask yourself how realistic these proposals are. The first one I would want to touch on is the one dealing with the rebate for the seniors, pensioners, and people with disability who gets a subvention or get money from the government. They talk about a $100 rebate. But when I hear the $100, I thought the pensions was going up by $100. Because if the pension is going up by $100, then I included in that. But in truth and in fact, ladies and gentlemen, the pension is not going up by $100. So the pensions are not being increased by $100. They claim it's $100 rebate that you will get. Now, if it's a rebate, how are you going to receive it? Will it be coming in a basket? Will it be delivered by the defense force or the police service or whatever the case is? How are you getting back this rebate? Because there's not a pension increase. Because she can't wear. No, sorry. Let me withdraw that statement. They bore so much money from the national insurance that I don't think they can take any more out of the national insurance. That is why that the national insurance got increased, because you know that you had to pay for an increase in national insurance. So the Barbados Labour Party candidate, if you see him around here, ask him where the money will be coming from and how will you get back the rebate when the month comes and how long it will be for. Will this just be for a year? Will this just be for 2 years? Will this just be for 3 years? How long will it for? Will it be for? And how much money it will cost the taxpayers? How much money will be taken out of the consolidated fund to pay for this proposal? Because that is what you have to do. Don't let the Barbados Labour Party and their persons or people around here come to you, raise concerns, financial concerns, and they're not saying to you how the taxpayers is going to pay for it. Because all right now, we haven't heard how much money Carifesta costs us. We haven't heard how much that structure they have up Newton that we still can't get described as if it's a chicken pen, if it's for eagles that coming in soon, or if it's for some of the people that the United States plan to send down here. We don't know what it is, what it's for, how much money it costs us. Because as taxpayers, you need to know. Because this is taxes that's being taken up, spent, and if you're spending taxes, if you're taking out and not putting back, then you will have financial difficulties down the road. But you know, the Barbados Labour Party will tell you, no, we got 26 weeks of reserve. But those are 26 born weeks of reserve. Because we have borrowed so much money. This country has borrowed so much money that we as taxpayers don't even know. And she won't tell us how much money that the country borrowed over the last, not 5 years. Not 5 years, because remember, we elect a parliamentary representative for 5 years. But she cut it down now to 4, because this is a snap election. She might cut it down to 3 next time if we give her that opportunity. And we cannot afford to give her that opportunity. We have to look for our children's, you have to look for your children's future. You have to ensure that you are doing things that will provide a better future for the children of Lammings and surrounding communities. And you have to elect a person that will ensure these communities are better off. So yes, she knows the cost of living is high. And the cost of living is high. The supermarket bills, you don't get nothing now when you go into the supermarket with $100. You go into a supermarket with $100, and before you can pick up 6 items, that is the $100 gone already. Even if you're downtown, even if you're downtown working and you're buying lunch in town, but anywhere in town that you can get a lunch for $20. Not even the fast food restaurants that give you a $20 lunch. There's nowhere in town that you can get a $20 meal. If you're in 20 or 25 or 22 or $23, don't call for a drink with it. Because if you call for a drink with it, it probably end up to be $30. So the cost of living is extremely high. And they want to boast about how you get salary increase in terms of the minimum wage. Now, when you check that minimum wage, what it was just 21 cents. Just 21 cents that was added on. And that is something to boast about. That is not even a mint price. A mint is 30 cents. So I am asking you, the residents, don't be fooled. I experienced it downtown when they come when you have to buy lunch. If you don't get them and do something to carry for our lunch, you will have every day spending $20. You spend $100 in lunch alone or over when the week come. You can imagine a golden apple in Barbados. A golden apple in Barbados downtown for $3. But I asked the woman, she golden apple. She tell me $3. I said, for a golden apple? She said, yes, sir, it's $3. I tell she, all right. Well, I'll get me honest with you. I went and buy a lottery ticket. And I come by the Mega 6, because you know they cap that price now to $4. But I ain't sure if you win because they didn't have a chance to check it. But I'm just trying to show you that you cannot allow the Barbados Labour Party candidate come around here and say to you things that don't make sense to you. And the cost that would occur towards you as a taxpayer. But under the Democratic Labour Party, under the leadership of Thorne, Randall Rouse, and Richard Seeley, and others, we will find ways to reduce the cost of living to you. And we have indicated that the 17.5 VAT that you're paying now, that they promised to remove when they assumed the office, when they assumed government, that they never did, that we will reduce that to 15%. We are also saying to you that the surge that you're paying for, and there's not one of these households in here or none of these buildings connected to the sewer system, but every month on your water bill, you're paying for storage. You're paying for sanitation. Sometimes the trucks come and sometimes they don't come. Well, we can probably have a little debate on that, but not the storage. You shouldn't be paying that kind of price for storage. So we are in the Democratic Labour Party saying that we will look at that and reduce it as also, because we are trying to find ways to reduce the cost of living and ensure that you, the residents of Lammings, get a relief in this cost of living thing. The other thing I want to touch on is, I hear Pastor Victor. Yeah, if you listen to him for the first time, you would know his profession. But all of a sudden now, the church is getting bribed too. You, the voters, getting bribed. Now the church is getting bribed. You can take up $5 million and give to the churches across the island. Now, let me tell you all something, ladies and gentlemen. I feel you should really take out your phone, because your phone have a calculator on it. And take out the phone and find out how much money a church will receive out of this $5 million. Because you know they ain't got two churches in Barbados. If it's one thing in Barbados, we have is churches. So I can't see the churches getting a lot out of that. I'm still trying to find out the reason for giving it to the church. What you're doing with it, the church. But you know, in the Jamaica Labour Party's manifesto, they promised to give the church money. And I can understand why the Jamaica Labour Party promised to give the church money. Because during the hurricane, churches got destroyed. They lost the roof. And that money that is given to the churches in Jamaica, it's a system for getting the roof back on the sanctuary. But here in Barbados, we ain't got no highway blow off in the church roof. Why are the churches, a proposal to give the churches $5 million, to be divided between the churches? Why are the taxpayers have to find or bear that cost when it comes to the churches? The other thing, though, that I want to look at is this whole question about $5,000 for every child born after the Republic announcement. Well, we are still an independent country, so we are independent republic. All right, so you're giving a child born $5,000 for a child born. So if Mary have a child, she get $5,000 set aside in an account. And me and Motley want to give the impression that we in the Democratic Labour Party are not progressive-minded thinking people. Well, I might be a bit slow, so I can take my time and see how good I can process this one. So $5,000 every child born in Barbados after the announcement of the 30th, Barbados becomes a republic. So, in December, we had only 3 children born. So there's only 3 for is 15, yeah, $15,000. But you know what? I am trying hard to understand. If come January you had 100 children born, then February another 100 children born, then March every year 2 or 300 children born in Barbados. At the end of 1 year, at the end of 2025, we got 600 children or 300 children. Yeah, the population growth will be going up. What is going to happen 5 years from now? Will this money still be given to children born? Will this money still be given 10 years from now? What is the end story? What is the end story of this proposal? It has to have an end. Everything in life have an end. So how long taxpayers will be paying for this? How long? All right, the child now reached age 18. So the child at age 18 might not get the money because she says between 18 and 25. So at age 18, we can stick to age 18. The child will be entitled to the $5,000 plus a little interest on it. And I know what the interest will be at the time. But if she got the chance and she's still around 18 years from now, she might want to give you in bonds and mere bonds because that is what might happen. But my immediate concern is how long this proposal is supposed to last and what is the burden of this proposal to the taxpayers. And that is what you have to find out from the Prime Minister and her people. How long is it going to go for, Mayor? How long, Prime Minister? Is it a 10-year proposal? Is it a 20-year proposal? What taxpayers will be paying? Because she can't be born all the time, you know. Because you can't borrow your way out of life. If you go to the credit union and you got a little money on the bank, and you go to the credit union and get some money and put it on the bank, you still got to pay back the credit union. So I am just asking y'all, ladies and gentlemen, is this the kind of people, is this what kind of leadership she referred to herself or they refer to her as? Somebody help me because I don't pay attention to her leadership announcement because in truth and in fact, study it. Motley is a great leader. We have had greater leaders in this country than me and Motley. Their best leader outside of Tom Adams was Owen Arthur. And Owen Arthur tells you don't trust her. He said don't trust her. That's the same Owen Arthur said to us and said to you, the people of St. Joseph, do not trust me and Motley. She's desperate. If you saw Sunday paper, you will see a former minister saying to you what she changed. She changed. And she changed so much that the people that she was running around St. Joseph with, or she was running around St. Joseph giving you the impression that the then Democratic Labour Party was the worst group of the people. The then Democratic Labour Party had all sorts of thieves in it. And you know that the same people are not the same. A couple, your people will say, you know how much is a couple? A couple of the same people that she was giving you the impression was all the bad things about the Democratic Labour Party in this country. You know where they are tonight? You know where they are tonight? They're not hanging on her coattails. They're in her bosom. She embraced them. So nothing wrong with them now. I see they got one who's saying that a former member of this organization, he has some derogatory comments to make about the person. But he was the second, or the first vice president of the Democratic Labour Party. And you know, they try morning, noon, and night to reach him, and he will not see phone. They call him all sorts of times, and he wouldn't respond. But he talked about being indisciplined, and he had to leave the party because of being indisciplined behavior and all sorts of things. But he was there. He was one of the people who were also indisciplined. So he wanted to give you the impression that people got shut out of the party. Nobody ain't shut out nobody. People shut themselves out. If you live in this house and you come home and you want to give trouble in the house and you're behaving bad in the house and ask you to leave the house and you get shut out, you get put out. Or the police come and put you out. Who shut you out? You shut out yourself. So all these people you see running around the country trying to give the impression that the Democratic Labour Party shut up people, those were indisciplined people. The same told them that on the same Barbados Labour Party platform, they were indisciplined. So action had to be taken. And there's nothing wrong in any organization taking action when there's a need for action. But you know what he also said? That the people who get shut out, a woman had to go behind the building to take medication. No, and a woman had to go behind the building to pass water. Well, I can understand the part with the person going behind the building to pass water. But I'm still trying to envision what kind of medication she was taking that she had to go behind the building to take medication. So I am saying to you people, and they will call his name, Michael actually had no real reason to leave the Democratic Labour Party other than a yard-full reason. So he being promised certain titles. Well, I do hope and I pray that the people of the city, the talk about rats, I hope the people of the city would not elect Michael Lashley for thy kingdom come. I pray we can work towards it, because that young man that representing the Democratic Labour Party in the city, he have a story to tell you. He can be used as a role model among young men and women growing up in the city. So I am happy, man, ladies and gentlemen, for the time spent, because we're running around trying to give as much support to our colleagues, because you know tomorrow is the last. So when you go out on Wednesday, please take your ID. Don't walk with your ID. Don't test them with your driver's license, nor your passport. Get your ID, walk with it, go to the polls early and vote Rouse from 6 to 6 to ensure that Randall Rouse be your next parliamentary representative. He was going with you since 1994. So please, go with him now. This is Rouse time. This is Rouse time. So again, tonight, I want to thank you for listening to me. I wish you well and stay safe. Thank you.
They know they have not done very well. The bees hustling, the bees boasting,
We certainly want to thank Peter Barrow for that inspiring speech. And as Peter spoke, I can just hear the whole avenues of deception, a lot of deceptive moves attitudes that suggest money talks in Barbados. Attitudes that suggest without that dollar bill that we cannot survive as a people. No kind of dignity, no kind of justice. But I would want to say, you know, that when I look back again and I study this whole phase of things that are going through this country, Barbados, when I think of the things that occurred in St. Joseph, when I recall how money sought to talk in St. Joseph, when I recall how much money spoke in St. Joseph, and a lot of us can go down to cattle wash. You don't have to boo me off, just search for Peter. And Peter can tell you about all the monies that were used and continue to be used in this country, in this parish, St. Joseph, to dictate the pace of what happens and what don't happen in St. Joseph. You know, that experience for me was a very revealing one, where I realized that money and money alone, out of cattle was St. Joseph, control practically everything that happened in St. Joseph. Money by one man. That was my revelation. And you know, so unfortunately, he was asking for this Victor Lewis. I want to meet Victor Lewis, to think that money will talk with me. No, justice speaks with me, not money. And I would want to encourage you to remember that the Democratic Labour Party stands for this principle of honest voices. And that honest voice we will hear being echoed through our next speaker, who is a very disciplined and forward-thinking young Barbadian, a leader whose experience spans skills trades, creative industries, and grassroots political engagement. He brings to public life a grounded perspective shaped by hard work, teamwork, and direct engagement with people. At 17, this gentleman, Jamal Sandiford, completed his studies in culinary arts at the Barbados Vocational Training Board, graduating as the 2018 valedictorian. He later earned level 5 CVQ, that is the Caribbean Vocational Qualification, and became a silver medalist in the World Skills Barbados program, reflecting technical excellence and commitment to his craft. Jamal has worked as a chef in leading hotels and restaurants, gaining experience in high-pressure environments where accountability and performance mattered. Alongside this, he developed skills in photography, music, and event promotion, including work as a DJ, locally and internationally, keeping him closely connected to the realities of everyday Barbadians. His political journey began through grassroots canvassing in the 2022 general election, leading to service as vice president of the Young Democrats and chairman of the St. Michael Northeast branch. Grounded, people-centered, and solution-focused, Jamal Sandiford stands ready to serve with energy, discipline, and commitment to practical progress. A round of applause again to our next wonderful speaker, coming out of St. Michael Northeast, Jamal Sandiford.
When my troop Jamal Sandiford. Jamal Sandiford, small youth from the rock, sling in a hand, no crown pan him head, but he firm when he stand. Who on me trembling, nobody want try. But Jamal Sandiford, step forward, look Goliath in the eye. Take down the giant, take down the giant, take down the giant Sandiford. Little Jamal with the big heart, gone down on the front line with the slingshot ready to start. He looking and looking, but he can't see where the giant gone. Is a mystery, she gone MIA, missing in action.
Good night. St. Joseph. My name is Jamal Sandiford. DLP Massive, thank you for continuing to support us. The gentleman earlier mentioned that Randall Rouse supported this constituency from 1994. To me, that is screaming of commitment. Imagine a gentleman running for a constituency repeatedly and then get the seat, but still continue to dedicate service to this constituency and to this community. Randall Rouse has earned my respect as a young candidate. I aspire to notice that farmers have a hard time and he can take his own money, even though he's not going to benefit from it personally, and make sure that they get tractors so the lands can be plowed. That is a man who's looking to give you a chance. So St. Joseph, I'm going to ask you one favor. On February 11th, I need you to go down to the polling stations, and where you see R. Rouse, place your X plumly inside that box, because he's doing it for you. It is only right that you do it for him. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about the experiences and the challenges that young people have to face within Barbados. Because the sad truth is this: for a lot of young people, success means to leave Barbados. And I mean, you can't blame them. When things hard, and you can't look to your parents, you can't look to your forefathers, your grandmother, nobody to really help you or aid you because things tight all around. What you gonna tell yourself you're gonna do? You're gonna find a way. And if you can't find it here, you're gonna find it some other place. And that is why a lot of people go overseas. And I'm going to say this now. To me, I find it very disgraceful that MPs, that the people that are tasked with making sure that young people and youth are supposed to benefit from being within this country, will have the audacity to tell them, go overseas, go to Belize, to support their freedom of movement initiative. It is very sad. I see it as though a parent telling their son or their daughter to go overseas to get opportunity. It would mean that you have failed as a parent. So I think that this government has failed to represent their youth, where they have to use overseas for children, for youth, people that know that school to benefit, to be successful. I want to give you a bit of my story, a little background on me. As you just heard, I went to skills training at 17 years of age. I refused to go to Pomerine, though my mother insisted. And the reason I refused to go to Pomerine, even though I was gifted and skilled within the area of culinary arts, was because I know that my parents were in a financial crisis. And going there would only deepen that crisis, because they would have to go and get a loan if they were lucky enough to do so to fund me through school. And that is why I took the initiative as a forward-thinking young man to go to skills training, to gain competency within this field of culinary arts. And by the grace of God and hard work, I became the valedictorian. I had the opportunity to represent Barbados in the World Skills Program. And by 18 years of age, I became a silver medalist. I say that to say this: everybody that young will not have that opportunity. So it's good to have skills training, But if only certain people can succeed, if only certain people can become a valedictorian, what happens to the rest? That is what we need to look at, the infrastructure in which the youth have to bear. As a young individual, I can tell you, it wasn't easy getting work. Part of the reason of why you went to skills training is because when I left school, my CXCs, it was hard, and I mean very, very hard to get work, because it would hear on one hand, well, you know, you're not left school, you know, so you don't have any experience. And then on the other hand, you would hear, well, you got these qualifications and you're a bit underqualified. The truth is, the system needs reform. We have pension. They raised the age of pensioners. So guess what happens? People have to work longer to gain money. And then because so many older people are in the workforce, young people have a hard time getting in because there's not vacancies within the workspace. So young people face unemployment, and even more critically, underemployment. That is what this country is facing. I do not know where they get the statistics from, where they say that we don't have a low unemployment rate, because I meet people daily when they canvass in my constituency that are unemployed. And that is why I commend those young gentlemen who decide they're going to pick up a skill, pick up a trade. Because before the trade, they were dead. Before the trade, they would suffer. That is why the Democratic Labour Party is creating solutions to help curb these chronic problems that plague our community. We have plans to do with youth, sports, and culture. One of the other issues that the young people are facing is a depression. Because I'm here to say this tonight. The old suffer, the middle-aged suffer, and young people also struggle too. It is very hard on the young people, especially when you don't have work. It's very hard on the young people, especially when you feel you have no hope. But I'm here to say tonight, the Democratic Labour Party is your hope, because we have young candidates who are open-minded and forward-thinking and who have considerate mindset to tackling these issues. I spoke about the high cost of living already, and I will continue to let it ring. High cost of living is an issue, but the root of the problem is a money crisis. When your dollar cannot stretch as far as you would like it to, you will forever want more money. The solution is not getting more money. The solution is making sure that your money can stretch as far as you want it to. And that is why the Democratic Labour Party has decided to decrease VAT, which is a value-added tax. In other words, it is extra money that is placed on goods and services for every single product. Our aim is to decrease it by 2.5%, which will place it at 15%, so that your money now can stretch. In other words, you will have more spending power with the money you already have. This government isn't intended to cut your VAT. This government is intending to give you a sum of $400 more in income tax. And I say to myself, $400 cannot last a year. If you're lucky, it can last a month. If you're very unlucky, your bill cannot be covered by $400. So this is the government way of soothing you. Here's your soother. Here's your $400 increase. That is not what the Democratic Party is aiming to do. We saw they were ready to give you a 71-cent increase in minimum wage. And what we are doing, when we reduce VAT, will now make that 71 cents mean something. Because until you reduce VAT, how much bus fares will that 71 cent give you within a week? These are the things that they want you to think about when you go down to the polls on February 11th. So many people, I know so many people that I come across that need housing. And they can't get housing. But you can hear that a minister somehow misplaced $60 million or more. And that money was allocated for the housing project, which they call Hope. And they keep saying this. If the Democratic Labour Party had misplaced that money, you would never hear the end of it. And that's why I'm here to say tonight. The Democratic Labour Party has plans to create and allocate transparent allocation of housing should we return to office. I'm going to give you a little personal story as well. I've been in Jackson 2 weeks ago. And they asked me the same thing I asked every single constituent. Is there anything you would like to see me implementing for your community? And they were shocked for the first time when they went to Jackson. Because a lot of people said, well, I already know. I said, really? When they want houses, when they want roads. But let me see the Prime Minister pretty regular from one hearing. And these same people got houses already, and houses being built by the government within these areas. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad for them. But we are living in a time where I could be in the constituency of St. Michael North East, which is currently presided over by the Prime Minister. And some people gonna get houses and others don't. Part of the reason they got into politics is back in 2022. I was canvassing with the previous candidate for the area. And I saw the way that some people were living. And when I say some, it is not the minority. Certain roads have people who have to shelter in containers and beg a lodging where they cannot afford water. They cannot afford light. The places that they're living in is not even insulated. So you know when nighttime come home it get. You know when daytime come home it get. And I got toddlers and families living in these conditions. And this is the constituency in which the Prime Minister has been in control of for over 30 years. I can't speak for all 30, but I can speak from 2022 to now. Some of them same houses, the windows still back out. Some of them same roads, the roads still bad. Some of them same houses, the water is flood. And nothing has been done for some of those same areas. The only thing that I can see a difference in is that some of these people get a little older and the grass get taller. Is this what strong leadership in changing times looks like? Because if so, more young people gonna run and left Barbados. The Democratic Labour Party needs the opportunity to put the reins in our hands again so that we can start galloping in the right direction. We have young candidates who come from struggle. I keep hearing from constituents as early as today that Miss Motley come up in hardship. She cannot relate to the struggles that majority of the people face. When she was young and she had issue, she could learn what she had and she daddy. He would say, hold that and keep quiet. That is why these policies that you see from the Barbados Party are very similar. It is always hold X amount of money and keep quiet. they got a problem within government, somebody raise up their hand, they get moved. They got a problem within government, somebody order too hard, they get a promotion, they quit now. These are the things that we are noticing within our country. So tell me, how could somebody who every single thing they ever want get handed to them relate to people who all we know is struggle? And that is why I say the Democratic Party is the right choice for Barbados, because we are putting people first. That is why our slogan is BIM first. Not strong leadership in changing times. Because we believe in helping the poor man and the middle class. That is why we have put policies in place in our manifesto where we will no longer be having flat rates for utility bills. Could you imagine that you are paying the same rate for your light, for your water, as a man that can shut the eyes and buy your Benz? That is why we will have utility rates that are suited to your level of income. The Barbados Party is not going to do that for you. So if you think that the money in the right shirt is coming, and you can smile and take it and go down to the polls and vote right, what I want you to remember, when the gas bill have to pay, that you vote right. When the value added tax has risen, that you vote right. Because the Democratic Party is advocating for reducing in tax all across the board and a removal of tax for overtime and for pensioners. Could you imagine that pensioner living in a home with an unemployed or few unemployed grandchildren, that her money now can stretch a little further, that more macaroni could come in the house? Could you imagine seeing it like Bill and not having to cry out? I want you to realize that when this party, the Barbados Party, gives you something, you have to wait for the other shoe to drop. I spoke about this before. That solidarity one-off payment. I know many of you got it. And it was convenient that it was offered around the same time that had a by-election. And shortly after the by-election, gas prices have risen. So it's almost like they give you one hand and massage your head, and you feel like, oh, they give me something, it's so loving. And you raise it that hand, it's a hold your place for the next hand. You can't run from it. This is what strong leadership in changing times looks like. Do you want to vote the Barbados Party? Do you want that when you see February 11th, or February 12th rather, that you hear gas prices rise again? That you hear that the cost of living is not going to decrease? Because these people had 7 years in government, recently turned 8, and nothing about the cost of living decrease has been done. Imagine their full term would have been 10 years, and they called election the first time in the ending of COVID. I know you guys will remember COVID. Lockdowns, can't go outside. It was a crime to sell. Social distances, 6 feet apart, don't come near me, put on your mask. And they called election. It was no surprise that it was a clean sweep. No, they were given the opportunity because they were voted back in. They used to stay the course as branding. And yes, the people stay the course. I'm not vexing them for that. But I want to be mindful that even though they stay the course, what is the result? You can hear that off the back of a truck that a document was found where Transport Board was supposed to be divested. It is these things that they decide to do. And because the public find out about it, they call elections early and do a lot of what seem to be as highway bribery. Because you can't now know that people want $400 increase in income tax. It was you that in government. What you wait to know? I have a keen suspicion that we do not want to know what they have in store. Because if there were open and transparent government, we would not have to fear the budgets. We would not have to fear what comrade leader threatened to expose about them. And then quick so, stop elections. We need to realize that this government did not wake up one morning and decide to divest public transportation. If you check their manifesto back in 2018, they stated they were going to transform public transportation. And I thought, like many, that would have been new buses. Because we got new buses. We got the bike, the Wi-Fi, we got the electric buses. Don't mind that they're not a good fit for the road. Because they won't do the roads to the, cause and effect. Especially in St. Joseph. We had a hard time getting here. David didn't know we get here late, but you understand why? But the truth of the matter is this. When you really think about how this government operates, why would we give them a third chance? They say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You can't fool me 3 times, the third time. I expect that all these things will be fresh within your mind come February 11th. I want you to realize, as I said before, that Randall has been with you guys since 1994. To me, that is an accomplishment for a man who is not in office. That man has a heart. That man has a dream of becoming your representative. How many of the Barbados Party candidates have you seen run for you guys so long and didn't get in and still continue to run? That man can do so much more things with his time, but yet he continues to invest within this lovely constituency, which is his home. I can say nothing more to sell the idea of how good of a man that Randall is to you. So come February 11th, remember to vote R. Rouse when you go down to the polls. Thank you and good night.
Say Sandy carry on. Layers and the rails, them tired of wait. Whole constituency don't reach the gate. Jamal from the yard sling and stone in the hand. Jamal Sandiford rise for the people and push on. Green Hill, Crazy, whole place ready. Buffon, Bronze Village, Leas, Darrell, take down the joint steady.
Certainly we want to thank Jamal Sandiford for such a wonderful presentation. As a young person in this country, Barbados, looking out for the welfare of our people. Now, I would want to say to you, I am 68 years old, 68. I am not here on behalf of Victor Lewis. In a couple of days from now, I will be 69, hopefully. That God allows me to live the next couple of days, as the case may be. But I'm not here because of Victor Lewis. I have children and grandchildren, and I know that the future of this country is no longer about Victor Lewis. It has to be about your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. When I stood there just now and listened to Jamal Sandiford, it says to me that Jamal, one of the young persons in this country, certainly has an interest, and a very definitive one, about the direction of this country. When I sat and I listened to him, I had to say within myself, this is the future of Barbados. When we can hear him speak at such a young age, with such clarity on the direction that he thinks this country should go. You know, it reminded me when I saw that young lady, again, the future of Barbados, when I saw that young lady, former senator, in the name of Crystal Haynes, who stood up in Parliament and said, we don't want to have the same development that we have seen on the west coast of Barbados, wall to wall to wall to wall, happening in the development on the east of this country or any other shores of this country. And because she stood up and spoke up, and she spoke with such clarity that we must understand as a people that that is the future of this country. But strong leadership, inverted commas, said to her, you will no longer be a senator in this country. And of course, she got the axe. The future of Barbados got the axe for standing up and speaking out about the direction of this country would have taken in the development of the West Coast. And she doesn't want to see that development in the interest of the young people of this country that are going forward, seeking to see strong development of the people here in Barbados. And I would want to say to you that, you know, when I just recall hearing from our constituency rep, and what really, you know, burned my heart as an individual, when I heard him saying in Grantley Adams that St. Joseph can wait. You know, we waited till Lanes Bridge broke down. We waited to Fruitful Hill, who was in such a state of disrepair. And all like now, Fruitful Hill is still struggling, still suffering over all these years. And our representatives say, St. Joseph can wait. Spar Hill, Melvin's Hill, Mellows, Erie Hill, down in the bottom here, again, Erie Hill, breakdown. And our representative say, we can wait. And he calls that strong leadership. You know, I must give you a little experience that I had in the area of Andromeda. You know, where they came down there and dug up all the road, leading from Foster Hall, St. Joseph, down to the bottom in the area by the park. All the road practically dug up. I was traveling from Foster Hall, St. Joseph, and I'm going down Andromeda, and I'm going down to the park, Bathsheba Park. So I am on the left side of the road, obviously, in Barbados. So the left side of the road is not dug up, but on the right side, the side over the Andromeda. So there are big buses coming up the hill, and the big bus is coming up on the right-hand side of the road, and I'm going down on the left. So the bus coming up, and I'm going down, and both of us, you know, practically, you know, he can't go up, I can't go down. The bus driver says he's not taking that bus over on the left. So then I had to reverse my vehicle up probably about 100 yards into Andromeda, and other vehicles had to come off the road into Andromeda car park so the bus can pass. And that is the kind of suffering that we have experienced as a people in St. Joseph. And while we're doing that, our representatives saying, we can wait. That is the kind of strong leadership that they have subjected the people of this parish to, where every road you can think about, holes, you go over Barnwell. Every turn you got to make. Anybody see you coming through Barnwell, driving will think that you're drunk because you're going left, right, shining all the potholes. And we have spoken about that time and time again. And what has our representatives said? We can wait. They come now and pave Horse Hill. And of course, they got a mock police there now in the middle of the hill. A mock police. Every time you get there, everybody got to slow down. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. But I would want for you to think of the things that are happening in this parish. St. Joseph, think of the things that are happening in Barbados. And I would want for you to, dig deep. Because I was living in Maryland. I retired in 2014 from Allen School after spending 28 years there. Then I was teaching in Maryland. And I decided to come home after they have this, what you call regathering. I saw it on my little television. Regathering in Barbados. And I saw it, the whole video from River Bay. And I said to my wife, let us go home and support that. It had nothing to do with the Barbados Labour Party. It has something to do with our country, Barbados. If the idea is a good one, then support it. But deception after deception. And I would want to say to you, you must dig deep. I would want for you to reflect on a lot of things that I have seen in podcasts recently. And to be more specific, I want for you to go to your Facebook or go to your YouTube and you want to type in John Ruitt. Because I realized that John Ruitt didn't just, of course, John Ruitt gone clear. And I feel that we probably are around the same age. He is not ministering now. He is not talking on behalf of himself. He's talking on behalf of his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. John Ruitt sat down and think. And this is what I want all the people of Barbados, all the people of St. Joseph to sit down and think. Do not be bought. And he said he heard that the price now of a vote gone up now to $500. So if you want me to vote for you, come with $500. My say to you, if the Reds come with 500, take the 500, go to the box and vote Randall Rouse. If they want to bring out the money, bring it. But Randall Rouse clearly is the person for this parish. And I want you to just don't forget it. Go and punch in Facebook, on YouTube, because when I watched that podcast or those podcasts given by John Ruitt, that guy sat down and think. He said clearly it's not about party, BD or otherwise. It's about the future of this country, of which my children have to live in, my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren have to live. I want for all the members of St. Joseph in my hearing and those on the internet to think of the direction that this country is going, where dignity and justice no longer seem to prevail. But in moments from now, when this sun will rise again, on this date, and 2 days from now, when we go to put that X, I want for you to sit down and think. Do not just allow your vote to mean anything for those who are up in age, for those who are established as a people, where you don't have to, live from paycheck to paycheck, where things gone clear for you. You must think within yourself, money no longer matters, but you must think of your children. What will they be subjected to? And I want for you to be encouraged to think that when we have a candidate such as Randall Rouse, some person who is well versed in leadership in this country, a person who have been there on the bandwagon for us all over the years, while our representative who again says we can wait. And when I look at that poster there, with Ramon Goodman, who brought a very generous gift to us, thinking that she could have deceived us in Bathsheba. She didn't. She will not deceive us again. Or when I saw behind her our representative who also failed us, now he is bringing somebody behind him who will also fail us. The apple does not fall too far from the tree. And just as he sat down and allowed our prescriptive rights practically to be taken away, he again is bringing some person who he will not be able to dictate pace to, because he had to sit down and listen to Mayor Ramon Goodman. And Ryan Braffett will also have to sit down and listen to Mayor Ramon Goodman. But I would want to say to you, but our candidate, Randall Rouse, will not have to sit down and listen to them, but he will listen to the people of St. Joseph. Randall Rouse, a businessman, committed to the community, advocate known for his consistency, his presence, his loyalty to the St. Joseph people. His public life has been defined by persistence, practical service, and long-term engagement. As a successful businessman, Randall understands the realities facing working Barbadians, meeting payrolls, sustaining livelihoods, and managing uncertainty. This experience grounds his people-centered approach to representation and informs his advocacy on opportunities, fairness, and quality of life. Randall has contested multiple elections in St. Joseph, not as a fleeting ambition, but as an expression of commitment to a constituency he believes deserved visible, consistent representation. Importantly, he has remained active between elections, continuing to raise concerns and support residents. He has been particularly vocal on infrastructure, access to services, and rural development. Randall, again, has earned a reputation as a strong voice for communities that feel overlooked. Approachable and dependable, Randall Rouse stands ready to serve with practical experience, persistence, and an unwavering commitment to ensuring St. Joseph is never forgotten. Welcome to the podium on this one meeting very close to when he will walk those stairs to Parliament. This meeting so close again to when we will gather at this site or another site to congratulate him on being victorious in St. Joseph, because we no longer have to wait. We will wait now on Randall Rouse, and we will continue to wait for him, and the St. Joseph development will see a very established path when we have leadership such as one who does not say to us we can wait, but we will now wait on our next leader in St. Joseph, our next constituency representative, Randall Rouse.
St. Joseph has been neglected, the early dances everywhere. The incumbents have shown us clearly that they do not really care, because they have had many chances to improve this constituency, but they took the people for granted and have squandered the money. So we going with Rouse, Rousey. We going with Rouse, Rousey. We going with Rouse, Rousey. Because of his sincerity, we voted for Rouse, Rousey. We voted for
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Randall the Costa Rouse. Any other is counterfeit. Ladies and gentlemen, my role here tonight is really to put over to you the commitment that I have shown towards this constituency and the commitment that I have going forward in relation to this constituency. I moved to St. Joseph in 1985. And when I moved to St. Joseph, I actually fell in love with this constituency. But when I saw the neglect of some of the areas, I decided to make it my life journey to lift the quality of life in this constituency. And that is why, despite the several times I run in this constituency and was not successful, I will tell you, quitting have never been an option, because I have a life journey to ensure that you, the people of St. Joseph, this constituency, quality of life be improved. Over the years, I have sponsored several events in this constituency. I even put on some community tournaments. I do not believe in boasting on what I have done. I do not believe that anything that I do, especially at an individual level, should be broadcast by me. If I do something for a community, yes, it is fair game to advertise it. But I will tell you that over the years, since 1985, I've done tremendous work in this constituency on my own. And I've done that without any aid, any governmental aid, or being the official representative for the constituency. Many know that I have done a lot for the constituency without additional aid of being the parliamentary representative. Since I've been here, and I try to alleviate some of the poverty, not only poverty, but some of the concerns that this constituency have, I will tell you that it is no one that is in this constituency that were in need of help which I could have assisted with, and I turned that person away. I live not far from here, and persons can attest to the work that I've done in this area, especially when I came here in 1985, when there was a lot of violence between this area and Prout. And I became the negotiator. And what I found is that the reason why we were having such dysfunction up here was because of the lack of employment among the young men. And I said to myself, I do community work in St. James, I moved to St. Joseph, and I made it a promise that this would be my home. And I said the same way I do community work in St. James, I would do the same thing in St. Joseph. And I started firstly by forming community groups. And the one that would stand out would have been the Goodwill Community Group. And after that, there isn't a sporting group that was in St. Joseph since 1985 that I have not sponsored. I've sponsored every cricket team in St. Joseph, every basketball team in St. Joseph, every football team in St. Joseph. And anyone can attest to that. No one can come and say that I have not sponsored any sporting team that was formed in St. Joseph. You know, everything that I try to do to lift the quality of life in this constituency, the Barbados Labour Party found a way to get between me and the community. And ladies and gentlemen, I am sure that most of you would remember that I had a skill training program going. And that skill training program was very, very successful. And only about 3 months ago, one of the persons who was a part of that skill training program that is now in Texas, leading an IT firm, called me and he told me he appreciated what I did for him because of that skill training program at the old seminary school. He have been able to harvest his skills, and by going overseas and furthering his studies, he is now managing an IT firm in Texas. That is the type of appreciation that I think that persons that have helped sort of refer to me. We all remember the Thunderbirds basketball team. Now, that is one of the vehicles that I use to mobilize the young people in this constituency, especially in this Lammings area. And when I attempted to put the Thunderbirds together, I was told by some of the players, why should they come back to Lammings and play third division in the Thunderbirds when they are playing Premier League in Station Hill Cavaliers and Senators? And I showed them the benefit that it would create for this constituency and for them. And because of that, and because I committed myself to sponsoring that thing, every single member basketball player from this area especially came back home, apart from one person. And I witnessed the increase of activity, sporting activities in St. Joseph because of that single thing, Thunderbirds basketball thing. And I will say that that basketball thing have brought tremendous acknowledgement to this constituency, because every basketball team throughout Barbados wanted to beat this little team that called from St. Joseph. And Thunderbirds beat each and every one of them and went straight up to the Premier League. But what I'm actually trying to get over to you is that at every stage, I try to identify a system to use to benefit this constituency. I tried it with the skill training. I tried it with the community groups. I tried it with having a beauty pageant. I tried everything that I could think of and believe would be advantageous for this constituency. But ladies and gentlemen, you can imagine how much I have done over the years. And I am not your official parliamentary representative, but I'm hoping that come February the 11th, you, the people of this constituency, would vote for me and make me your official parliamentary representative. I've always worked hard showing my love for this constituency, but many have tried to poison my love of this constituency. Many have put false narratives to discredit all the work I do and have done in this parish. But ladies and gentlemen, quitting have never been an option for me, and quitting will never be an option for me so long as I believe I have a contribution to make. And I totally believe that I have a contribution to make to this constituency that would improve the quality of life in this constituency. All the years that our former parliamentary representative was responsible for this constituency, he have not, in my opinion, he have not shown any interest whatsoever towards lifting up the quality of life of this constituency. He have not shown any interest in improving the infrastructure of this constituency. He have shown no interest in trying to bring economic gains to this constituency. But each and every time that I try to do something that would bring some gains to this constituency, there have always been something put. You call it smoke in the fire. But ladies and gentlemen, I would just draw some of the issues and some of the challenges that I've been through trying to increase life in this constituency. Over time, I have been having discussions with several business persons in relation to trying to finance projects in this constituency. Two of the projects that I had firm commitment from two business persons to carry out in this constituency were a double-sided pavilion here in Lammings and a pavilion at Prout. And all I needed to do was to have the okay from the ministry that they can go ahead with the work, get the drawings and what's not done. On each occasion, the parliamentary representative made it known that the government planned to do a pavilion in Lammings and to do a pavilion in Prout. And there is no need to have the persons involved in building these two pavilions. And instead of building a pavilion in Lammings, an old pavilion was bought and come and placed here, which was infected with termites. And today, it is no more. In Prout, where the two business persons were prepared to do a basketball court and to build a small pavilion in Prout, the same decision was taken that I should not get involved and those two business persons should not carry out the project as we were proposing to them. And what they did is before the election, they went and started the pavilion in Prout. That is 7 years ago, over 7 years ago. And after the election, the pavilion stopped. Right now, all that is down there now are a number of trees growing up through the foundation to what was supposed to be the pavilion. And I heard them on the podium saying that is their intention to complete the pavilion in Prout. I heard that only a couple of weeks ago from a Barbados Labour Party platform. I say to you, they can't finish a pavilion in Prout. They have got to begin to build a pavilion in Prout because they have to push down that structure, foundation structure that there, because too many roots are within that structure right now. But optics, impressions, that is all the Barbados Labour Party ever do. That is all they ever do. You know, the skill training program that I had going down at the old seminary school, that was stopped because after they saw how successful it was becoming, they used an operative to write the Dawson trustees and constantly complain, saying that I keep facts down there and I sell alcoholic beverages and what's not down there, and it is sacred ground and I should not be doing this. So when the contract was about to renew, the Dawson trustees told me that they would not renew it because they're having too many complaints. But those complaints were because of political reasons. And one thing that I never do, I never involve partisan politics in community activities. You all could very well remember when we were having the issue with water up here, when we didn't have water for sometime 17 and 18 days. I took it upon myself, even though I was a member of the Democratic Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party was the government at the time, to protest and ask for a betterment. And even though several people believe that I should not have done that because I was a member of the Democratic Labour Party, I saw nothing wrong with it because it was a community project and you should not use partisan politics against the good of the community. So I did it. And I will say that the Democratic Labour Party went all out to improve the water issues in St. Joseph. The pipes were laid, and the only thing that wasn't done was the reservoir that was done there. But I hear now the Barbados Labour Party saying that it was them that do this and it was them that do that. Everything that the Barbados Labour Party did in relation to the waterworks up here was plans that were put in place by the Democratic Labour Party. But they're trying to give you the impression that the Democratic Labour Party never did anything and they had to come in, run pipes and put up storage tanks, which is false. And I don't agree with anyone who just want to put up PR to suggest that something is what it never was. Ladies and gentlemen, I care for this constituency. But I would like to ask you, is caring for the constituency shown by just turning up when elections are called and buying drinks and putting on the table? I remember that it was said that all that the men in St. Joseph need is a bottle of rum and the women don't need anything. Don't you all remember that statement? Don't you all remember at Grantley Adams, the parliamentary representative, when they were discussing the fixing of roads, said that St. Joseph can wait. Deal with the other roads, St. Joseph can wait. I would like you all to understand that the mere fact that he was in this constituency and they were discussing the fixing of roads and he had the goal to say that this constituency can wait, go and fix the roads in the other constituencies. Do you call that a parliamentary representative? I don't, certainly don't. I believe that neglecting the people that put you there to serve is a serious issue. And over the years, even though I was not your parliamentary representative, all and everyone, despite political affiliation, who came to me with an issue, I tried my best to rectify it. And let me tell you something. There are two agencies especially, MTW and the Welfare Department. The most common comment that I always get from the two of those agencies when I go to highlight an issue up here is that, Mr. Rouse, you don't have to do this. This is the work of the parliamentary representative. And whenever that comment is made to me, I always respond by saying, but if he ain't doing it, somebody got to do it. And I believe the reason why I get some of the things done is because of my consistency. I make certain that whenever I approach a government agency, I get to know the name of the person who I communicate with. And at every stage when I have to refer to the issue that I took to them, I go to the same person over and over again. And I believe I get some of the things done because the officers probably say, look, let me get you off my case. But ladies and gentlemen, this constituency deserves more, deserves better. This constituency is a constituency that have great potential. And when we look at it, the Barbados Labour Party never had any intention or do not have any intention to do anything to improve the quality of life in this constituency. We have some person now who is coming to present themselves to you, asking you to allow him to be your parliamentary representative. And I was told that he made a statement, he coming to this constituency to carry on the good work of our former parliamentary representative. I would like to ask, where is the good work? Because in my opinion, Dale Marshall have never done anything to be proud of for this constituency. And that's a fact. But persons believe, a red shirt gonna make me look good. Yes, the red shirt might make you look good. But do it improve the quality of your life? What this constituency need is some person who is willing to lobby to make sure that something is done in this constituency. What this constituency need is somebody who care about the young people, about the old people, about the disadvantaged people in this constituency. And I, Randall the Costa Rouse, do care. They use the slogan, Mayor Care. Well, let me tell you something. If Mayor Care, Randall Rouse Care, square. Because I know that you, the people of this constituency, over time have judged me. Over time, you have witnessed my commitment to this constituency. All of you, most of you, have at some point in time interacted with me and asking for me to give advice or to lend some type of assistance. And I have over the time, if you want to be honest, would say yes, Randall Rouse assisted me by whether it be sporting gear, getting children to school, something as basic as getting bus fare. And let me tell you something, right? I have to love what I'm doing. Because if I didn't love what I'm doing, and if I didn't love this constituency and care about this constituency, I would make sure that I'm not found. Because let me tell you something. From 5 o'clock on mornings when I am at my home in Lammings, there's always someone who needs some assistance. Whether it be bus fare or whether it be to get something for breakfast. You know, but I don't talk about these things. I don't believe that I should engage in exposing or saying what I've done for individuals. But you out there know what I've done. And you all out there know that I, Randall the Costa Rouse, have always showed respect despite what color shirt you wear, whether it be red, yellow, or blue. I do not see partisan politics when it comes to dealing with individuals. I see people, and that is me, and that will always be me. I joined the Democratic Labour Party, and I never thought that I would have been involved in elective politics. But because of the work and the assistance that I've been given to this constituency, when Dr. Richie Haynes wanted a candidate for this constituency, Dr. Richie Haynes told me that everyone he spoke to told him that I'm the person he should contact because I always show that I care about this constituency. And I told Dr. Richie Haynes then that I was not interested in elective politics. And I always remember this. Dr. Haynes told me, Randall, do not say that. I will call you back in 2 weeks. And whatever decision you make, I will accept. And I believe, as I keep saying, Richie Haynes had a stop clock. Because up to probably the last second, my phone rang and it was Dr. Richie Haynes. And he asked me what my decision was. And I told him, because of the way how he spoke to me, I told him, yes, I would accept. And he said, Randall, you are my candidate for the constituency of St. Joseph. He said, but I do not want you going out there calling people by odd names and cursing people and lying about people because you do not know whose table you're going to sit in down at tomorrow. And, you know, when I think of that, even though I never was involved in, I like the idea of elective politics. After getting involved, I never thought that I would have joined another political party. But I did. So, you see that in this life, you should never, ever believe that a situation will remain the same forever. But I will tell you all that being involved in elective politics in Barbados is not easy. And as for me in St. Joseph, it certainly is not. Because I got to constantly hear all the negative comments and what's not without responding. And what that actually do, and giving, well, the party said honest voices, I give it honest voices here. What it actually do is it erode some of that sensitive side of you, because the time comes when you hear the worst things. And you just say to yourself, well, if that's what they want to believe, let them believe it. You know, I've heard some of everything about myself. And on most of the occasions, the comments that I hear were wrong. I would not even, I probably would save some of those comments for a bestseller that I think I should write. Because I have been through so much in this constituency, and yet, I refuse, totally refuse to neglect this constituency. So ladies and gentlemen, I am sure that from my experience in this constituency, from my open generosity towards persons in this constituency, I am sure that if you are some person who is willing to be objective, would acknowledge that I am the better person to be the representative for this constituency. And I can give one assurance, and that assurance is that if given the opportunity to be your parliamentary representative, I will not disappoint. And I can give that firm assurance because my head is on in the right direction. I know from being involved up here, I know everything about this constituency. I know the good, I know the bad, and I know the indifference. And because I do not speak everything, it don't mean that I don't know. But I am sure that on February the 11th, you, the people of this constituency, will say, listen, you see that man Rouse? Man, he deserve it, you know. He have done enough. He have done enough to be deserving of the responsibility of making sure that this constituency move forward in a positive direction. And all those who continue to have all the negative and poison things to say about me, I say to you, you can do that, but I will not in return throw poison at you the way you're throwing poison at me. I believe that a man should be a man. And if you are committed to doing good, you continue to do good. But you should never, ever try to discredit someone for naked partisan politics. Never, ever. Because let me tell you something, and I learned this the hard way. We in Barbados as a people, despite of political affiliation, always communicate. And from my experience and being in different forums, in the initial stages I used to be shocked to realize that there were very active communication between members of the Barbados Labour Party and members of the Democratic Labour Party. And I'm saying this because you got to be honest about things, right? But we have some supporters out here who support either the Democratic Labour Party or the Barbados Labour Party, who goes out of their way to try to pull down and discredit persons from the other party. That is wrong. That is totally wrong. I believe that we as a people have to live together, have your disagreement, but let it be civil. And that is how I try to live my life. I try to make certain that my involvement, whether it be with BLP, DLP, or no Ps, that I have an effective communication with them. And those who believe that because I'm a member of the Democratic Labour Party, I will always be a member of the Democratic Labour Party, even though at times there might be things that I might feel differently about, but that is what it is like in a family. You know, I came up in a house where my father supported Lionel Craig and my mother supported George Moore. So I was in the middle. So I got a clear understanding of the two parties. And when I really evaluate what I grew up among, I have to come to the firm conclusion that the better of the two parties are the Democratic Labour Party. And because of the policies of the Democratic Labour Party, this country have advanced. The single issue of education, you know, that in itself is what caused this country to be the way it is. Education is a must for development. And the Democratic Labour Party, on winning the first general election, made it known that education is what they will be using as a tool to advance this country. And it have worked. And I just believe that our young people only want the opportunity to improve their lives. On the other hand, when I look at what the thinking seems to be of the Barbados Labour Party, is that all the young men in Barbados need is a weed whacker and a rake. What this country need and what this constituency need are programs and policies that will enhance the ability of young men. Now, I said men, I didn't say women. Because if you note, women throughout Barbados and in this constituency continue to educate themselves. I think it is up to the men in this country and in this constituency to raise the standard of their living by going out there and improving and qualifying themselves to have a better quality of life. Yes, you need to use a weed whacker. Yes, you have to use a rake. But always look at improving the quality of your life. And you can only do that by going out there and getting involved in programs that are beneficial to you and your development. And I, Randall Rouse, Randall the Costa Rouse, intention is to do everything within my power to make certain that these young men that I see coming up, I'm talking about the 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds, that they have something to engage them so that they will see that as they get older, their life can be better than what it is at this present moment. And I talk to them. And I must say that all of them show me respect. And I show them respect in return. But it calls for more than what I'm doing right now. It calls for some person. It calls for agitation. It calls for getting systems in place so that they can fall into the system and better their educational outlook, and whether it be academic or not. But how do we do that? I would like to do it if the Democratic Labour Party form the government of this day, which I believe they will on February the 11th, I would like this Democratic Labour Party to make sure that there are programs put in place to help the young people of this country. Because if that do not happen, right, and if young people believe that they should only look at the immediate and don't look at the future, this country is going to be, is doomed. We look at the level of violence that is taking place in this country. And I was passing by a bus stop down by my workplace. And I heard two young persons, nothing more than about 11, 12 years old, and they were arguing. And one of them said, you better left me here. No, right one, yeah, right one. So I turned to a fellow that was near there and said, you understand what he's saying? He might say, well, you don't understand, he might say you read a gun. Now, if the young people in this country, young men especially, know exactly where they can go to rent a gun or where they can have access to a gun, do you want to tell me that the authorities in this country do not have the intelligence information to know where these guns are coming from and how they're being supplied? But you know something? This country is a class society. And once you are high up, nobody pays you any. You could do as you like. But it's the one at the lower level that have to pay the price. The only way that I believe that gun violence in this country will be curtailed is if the government and the authorities decide, listen, we will target the source of these guns that are coming. We are going to identify the persons who are financing the importation of these guns. We are going to find out if these guns are being manufactured in Barbados. And we are going to find out the people, the persons, no matter who they are, that are behind this scheme. That is the only way we can have less gun violence in Barbados. And it seems every day now, there is some shooting in Barbados. But ladies and gentlemen, let me just say that I pledge my full commitment to this constituency. And in pledging that full commitment to this constituency, I am prepared to work hand in hand with you to ensure that this constituency improve. Now, I was doing house sales only the day before. And a Barbados Labour Party supporter, we embrace, we think. And then the comment to me is, but Mr. Rouse, if you win this seat and the Democratic Labour Party win the government, well, you can't do nothing. What folly. I've done so much. I've done so much. And the Barbados Labour Party was in government, and I wasn't elected. But the person who was elected and is a member of the Barbados Labour Party in government done absolutely nothing, in my opinion. So, my intention, whichever government formed the government, whichever party formed the government on February 11th, I, Randall Rouse, will be lobbying them, Barbados Labour Party, Democratic Labour Party, whichever party, to make certain that this constituency receive the support that this constituency deserves. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it is time for you to put someone who cares as your parliamentary representative. And I'm putting it to you that I, Randall Rouse, is that person. And I pledge that I will not disappoint. This is my time. Rouse is for the house. Ladies and gentlemen, please put me where I can represent you more effectively. I thank you.
Aye, boy. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Aye, man, nam, nam, nam. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. St. Joseph
youth has been neglected, the evidence is everywhere. The incumbents have shown us clearly that they do not really care, because they have had many chances to improve this constituency, but they took the people for granted and have squandered the money. So we going with Rosie. We going with Rosie. We going with Rosie. Because of his sincerity, we voting for Rosie. We voting for Rosie. We voting for Rosie.
Certainly we want to thank our next constituency rep, Mr. Randall Rouse, for such a wonderful presentation, really encouraging us to go on out in practically 48 hours from now to put that X where it truly belongs. Putting that X up against Randall Rouse, we know that we will succeed as a people. You know, I was there recollecting in my mind when I gave thought to my tenure at the Allen School. I know while I was there that the current Prime Minister of Barbados was the Minister of Education overseeing the implementation of EduTech. That ain't come off. Perfectly correct. I, as a member of the staff at the Allen School, observe for myself the millions of dollars that was wasted during EduTech. I consider within myself, I don't know how we can implement a project such as EduTech in all the schools of Barbados. That was implemented. And what was so disappointing, that when we had computers breaking down at Allen School, they broke down at Combermere, they broke down at Harson's College, they broke down at Frederick Smith, they broke down at all the secondary schools, and EduTech was in a mess because they didn't do a pilot program before they started. That is what the Minister of Education, our current Prime Minister, did not run a pilot program for EduTech, took up millions of dollars, started the program, and run the pilot program after, just for the sake of records. That is the kind of strong leadership that has this country in total detrimental state that we have been subjected to. But thank God that we have honest voices. Thank God that we have strong leadership in the form of the Democratic Labour Party. I would want to say to you that we will go out and vote. And just remember what I said before. Go home, pull up the podcast by John Ruitt, and you will see that this gentleman sat down and think. He didn't just get emotional because of red shirts, because of the potential of millionaires or billionaires back in the Barbados Labour Party. No, he didn't do that. He sat down and think. And this is what I want for you to do. Sit down and think how deceptive you can be. And I know as a member of staff at Allen School, not one member of staff would have been seen or heard using indecent language. We would be castigating students of our school for the use of indecent language. If a staff member do that, we would abhor that behavior, especially coming from a staff member. We would want to correct a student. But you know, I watch on my phone. Maybe you watch it on yours too. On your phones. Where our leader drop as low. Don't call the names now, Victor. You know, the police right there, but I was the police too. You know, when we hear our leader stoop so low to be engaged in language that is purely indecent. The F word and the R word. And then I would see this same leader up on stage being so eloquent in speech. Here, there, and everywhere. But stoop so low to be engaged in indecent language. And then she ought to be a model for this country. This has only been a spot meeting for us. We have other meetings out there to support. So I would want for us to stand at this time where we are to give God thanks for his protection of us over the period of time that we've been here and ask his guidance. So let us all bow our heads. Loving God, we give you thanks again for the opportunity where we can come together as a people to discuss concerns that we have in terms of the pre-movement towards this general election. Guide, guard, and protect us as we go forward. Be with those individuals who will go from here to their several places of abode. Guard, guide, and protect us all. And may your name be glorified in all that we do. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Thank you for coming, and do have a wonderful evening. And remember, when you go out on the 11th of February, make sure and put that X against our candidate, Mr. Randall Rouse. Thank you very much.
DLP! 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 Putting people first! Putting Barbados first! This is the DLP way of governing. Higher standards, open hands. Barbados first. Respect the minds of nations. Barbados first. Dignity across the land. Barbados first. What matters to the people guides every step we take. Country before convenience, this is the pledge we make. DLP puts you first. DLP puts on first. Hey!